Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. Chase Senior here with you. Game 2 of the NBA Finals is set, and this series is evened up at 1-1 going back to TD Garden in Boston after the Golden State Warriors went off in the third quarter, pummeling Boston, just like Boston had thumped them in the fourth quarter as we continue to ride the seesaw in this series. Final score of 107-88 coming your way on today's show. A post-game mailbag and reaction to what transpired from the Chase Center in San Francisco for Game 2. Really looking forward to answering all of your questions about this game as well as all of the happenings in the NBA. We start off with this question coming in from Malorior, watching from the Philippines. Is Curry going to be Finals MVP when they win? Up to this point, he's been the MVP for the Warriors. He was really good in Game 1. He had that 21-point first quarter when he unleashed 6 3-pointers. He was a little bit cold the remainder of the game, and we know what happened in that fourth quarter as Boston, led by Al Horford, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart, were just so dominant in that final frame. But then Curry basically repeats his performance from Game 1 and was really good in Game 2. He had final tallies in this ball game that were very reminiscent of what he did in the opening game of the NBA Finals. He finishes with 29 points, a plus 24 on the night, 9 of 21 from the field, 5 of 12 from deep, 6 of 7 from the line. He did not play the entire fourth quarter. So if the series were to end after tonight, and let's say the Warriors were to win this series, obviously that's not the case, Steph Curry would be Finals MVP, which would add something really special to his mantle. In addition to a couple of MVPs, he does not have a Finals MVP yet. 3 NBA championships, a couple NBA MVPs, and a Finals MVP. Man, that would make Steph Curry a top 10 player of all time, in my opinion. JV, big supporter of what we're doing here at Chat Sports. Who do you think will be the first pick of the NBA draft? I think it's going to be Jabari Smith. He's the number 1 player on my big board, and I think Jabari Smith should be the guy taken atop the draft. He's a great athlete with excellent size. He's extremely long, excellent athlete. Word is the guy loves getting into the lab and working on his game. He can get a bucket from anywhere on the floor. I'd like to see him get a little bit better with putting the ball on the floor and being more comfortable in doing so. But he shot more than 40% last year from distance for Auburn and can hit a turnaround jumper, has a little sidestep and step back 3 to his game, and I believe that he is going to continue to add to his offensive arsenal over time. Orlando Magic, you got to select Jabari Smith at number 1. It makes the most sense. Ziljan, hopefully I pronounced that right. Can Boston beat the Warriors? Yes, Boston could beat the Golden State Warriors. This series is deadlocked now at 1-1. It's been very even throughout both of these games. Both games ended in somewhat blowouts if you look at the final score. But if you actually watch what transpired during the game, it was pretty closely contested between Boston and Golden State. These two teams match up very favorably against one another. Boston might match up a little bit better defensively with their length and athleticism and how they play along the wings on both ends of the floor. But then the Warriors have that playoff experience. If Golden State can continue to knock down threes at an efficient rate, I think that's what could change this series. Boston, they were a little bit top-heavy in Game 2, led by Jason Tatum, and that was one of my big questions for Boston going into Game 2. Can the shooting sustain of shooting more than 50% from the field and three-point range? It did not. And the Derek White, Marcus Smart, Al Horford trio, as well as Jaylen Brown, who was excellent in Game 1, that did not carry over into Game 2. So on a night-in, night-out basis in this series, it's almost as if who are the secondary stars going to be who actually step up? And that could be another big calling card in this series. I did go with the Warriors to win in 7, but it could really go either way. I gave you my prediction. Now it's time for you to get your predictions into the comment section. Who you got in this series? Not in Game 3. C for the Celtics, W for the Warriors. 1.23K, do you think that Jordan Poole deserves a max contract? It's a really good question. Jordan Poole deserves to, in my opinion, to get paid between $20 and $25 million per year. And he is on an upward trajectory right now where the improvements that have taken place have been really impressive. That's why he was in the running for most improved player. Jordan Poole has made a monster jump each of the last couple of years, especially last year to this year, when as early as a year ago, around the All-Star break, he was going back and forth between the G League and the Warriors. And now he is a constant presence in this rotation. Sometimes he bails the Warriors out offensively in a huge way. At the end of the third quarter, he hits that deep three, then another three at the buzzer just beyond half court. He has game-breaking ability, and he was one of my X factors going into this final series because he's one of the lone players on the Warriors who can threaten you off the dribble and actually create. Steph Curry doesn't do a lot of that. He needs a lot of off-ball action in order to free himself up. Nor does Klay Thompson. Jordan Poole is that guy. And he was awesome in that third quarter. The Warriors were plus 21 in that third frame. They led by 23 entering the fourth, and a big reason for that, Jordan Poole. And I do think he's going to get paid by the Warriors because they want to compete right now, but also build for the future with Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Jordan Poole as a part of that equation. He's still in his early 20s. Marquise Robertson, Chase Sr., Marquise, who says no to this trade idea? Russell Westbrook goes to the Knicks, KCP and Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers, and James Harden to the Miami Heat. So what would the Lakers... Okay, so Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers. How do the Charlotte Hornets factor into this? Because Harrell is playing for the Hornets right now. They would need something back to get something back for Montrezl Harrell. James Harden to the Miami Heat, I don't think he fits the Heat culture. So who says no here? I think a couple of the teams here. I don't know if the Knicks want an aging and expensive Russell Westbrook with a player option of $47 million. Harden could be in that salary range because he has that player option and could sign a long-term deal in free agency. And you have to factor in the Hornets here because they did trade for Montrezl Harrell. You have to add them into that trade idea, Marquise, but appreciate the effort. Make sure you subscribe to us on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. We are closing in on 300,000 subscribers. In fact, right now we are less than 3,000 people away from reaching that milestone on Chat Sports. Multiple videos every single day, every couple of hours, covering the best NFL, college football coverage. So make sure you hit that red subscribe button or go to youtube.com/chatsportstv. Sean Dennehy just threw you an Instagram follow. Shout out to Sean at Chase_Senior for others. Do you think the Celtics need Big Al to step up to win the series? Yes. And that's why, that's at least a reason why they were able to win the opening game of the NBA Finals. Al Horford had a career game, 26 points with a couple of nights of rest coming off that Game 7 against Miami. He looked refreshed, but I thought Golden State changed up their defensive philosophy a little bit. In Game 1, they purposely gave Al Horford a lot of open opportunities from three. They did not allow Al Horford to have open space around the three-point arc in Game 2, and Draymond was all over him. First possession of the game, he tied up with Al Horford and calls a jump ball. And I love that from Draymond. He let people know, yo, we're coming to play tonight. We're ratcheting up our defensive intensity, and that's what the Warriors did, and a big reason why they held the Celtics to some cold shooting percentages. Rochelle Cruz, do you think they should trade for Wiseman for Myles Turner? So trade James Wiseman for Myles Turner. It's a really good question because you're looking at this Warriors team right now. Obviously, the upside and potential of James Wiseman, all really appealing. Talking about the number 2 pick of the draft, he was the number 1 player when he was going to Memphis out of high school. Only played a couple of games with Memphis, though. Few games with the Warriors in his rookie year. Did not play at all his second year. So injuries are a concern. Him maturing as a player and growing as a player, also a little bit of a concern. Trading him away for Myles Turner puts you in this championship window further, and I think makes you a better team. But the appeal of what Wiseman can be is why the Warriors might hold on to him, in addition to his salary is a lot cheaper than Myles Turner, who's been one of the best shot blockers in the NBA over the last 2 years. Wet Noodle 187, Thompson needs to help out more, but who else needs to step up? Go Niners and Warriors is Wet Noodle, the homie, a San Fran Cisco fan all around. Thompson does need to be better, and tonight he was pretty dreadful, actually. And I thought producer Coop made a really good point during our watch party. It felt as though the Warriors were trying to force feed Klay and get him going just to get his confidence up, and he kept missing. He was cold. 4 of 19, 1 of 8 from 3 for only 11 points. And he played pretty good defense, actually. Help defense, recovery defense, one-on-one defense. But for Klay, you're asking him for his input to be offensively. And as this series moves forward, you need Klay Thompson to do a little bit more. Because if that happens, Golden State becomes even tougher to beat. Let's go to this next question coming in from, I believe, Acreus. Here we go. Is it realistic for the Pelicans to trade for OG Anunoby? Love OG Anunoby, the player. The growth and development that's taken place over time has been awesome. We did get a super chat in, by the way, if we want to pop that up as well. Who are the Pelicans going to give up? Honestly, when you look at the Pels, I think that roster might be set. And they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference, going into 2022-2023. You look at that roster right now. You've got the young talent with still Zion Williamson, and obviously the Pelicans' success hinges on his health. If he comes back and plays like he did 2 years ago when he shot around 60% from the floor and was a game changer offensively, he needs to get better defensively, then the Pelicans become a dangerous squad. But CJ McCollum and the trade of him, and you pair him up with Brandon Ingram, who is one of the best emerging young scorers in the game. His length allows him to really put the biscuit in the basket from anywhere on the floor. And then you have defense at the wings with Herb Jones. You have defense at the guard spot, Jose Alvarado. At that center spot, you're pretty set with Jonas Valanciunas. This Pelicans team going into 2022-2023 is really good. I'm not sure they need to trade for OG Anunoby. But Anunoby, I've seen him take strides the last couple of years. He's always had the length and athleticism, but him as a two-way threat and a growing offensive player who's added a lot of shots and creativity to his offensive arsenal. I've been very impressed by him. MVP of Game 2 was who? Got to go with Steph Curry. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, drop a name in the comment section right now. $2 super chat coming in from DY. Michael Foster, NBA draft updates. Let me give you something here. Michael Foster.
Chase Foster was a NBA G League Ignite player this year.
G League Ignite this year. He's only 19 years old. I don't have an update as to whether he is classifying for the draft or not. So I do not have an update as of right now on Michael Foster. Let's look at his draft profile page here. He's slated to go maybe somewhere in the second round. He might go undrafted though. On this big board that I'm looking at, he's slated 56, 57. Overall player, 89. Now you might take a chance on him. With the G League this past year, nearly 15 points per game, almost 9 rebounds. Looking at his shooting splits, about 49% from the floor, 31% from 3. So with Michael Foster, a power forward, 6'9", 235, hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you're looking at way back end of the draft, maybe undrafted. He could also elect to continue his development either overseas or at the G League level. Tommy Croco, or Croco, one of the two ways, hopefully I pronounce it. Last question in this mailbag. Westbrook to go to the Heat for Kyle Lowry or Portland for Damian Lillard, a.k.a. Dame Time. I don't think Damian Lillard is going to get traded. I don't think he's going to get dealt. Now, if CJ McCollum was still on that team, maybe one of the two would get traded. But Dame was traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, as we've been talking about. And I think that Dame is going to stay in the Pacific Northwest. I think the Portland Trailblazers are going to try to put together a roster around him that allows them to get back to competing in what is going to be a juggernaut of a Western Conference. As for Kyle Lowry, I don't know how much trade value he has. Injured, a little bit older, really expensive. I think he needs to shed a couple of pounds. Love his intangibles, basketball IQ, dog mentality, defense. He pisses me off as an opponent anytime he sets a charge or flops, but he is a championship winning player. I'd like to see him run it back with the Heat, though. So we'll see what happens with that.